Well, hey everybody, welcome down to another episode of Happy Hour from Dafoe's Plague Year Lounge. I hope everything's going as smooth as it can for you in these crazy times. Let's see, I'm going to start off today with a little tune that I wrote. Big Dave McLean and I did this together on an album called Fellow Travelers some years back. It goes like this. Well, now when I'm walking and you cross my tracks, I start to having those love attacks. Hey, baby, where'd you get that smile so fine? Honey, you got teeth like pearls and lips like cherry wine. You know you're hip to the tip, mama, you're wise in the eyes. Everything about you such a sweet surprise. Hey, baby, where'd you get that smile so fine? Honey, you got teeth like pearls and lips like cherry wine. If you say you like I'm stupid, I'll be no fool. Tell me you're a teacher, I'll go back to school. Hey, baby, where'd you get that smile so fine? Honey, you got teeth like pearls and lips like cherry wine. I said, now when we're out walking and you cross my tracks, I start to having those love attacks. Hey, baby, where'd you get that smile so fine? Honey, you got teeth like pearls and lips like cherry wine. So when I was a kid, I bought this 78, I still have it. Mercury Records made a deal with Hadacol Patent Medicine Company. And for so many box tops or bottle caps, you got a record. Or if you saved enough to go to one of their shows, you got enough. And they had huge shows. The last headliners were for the Hadacol Caravan of Stars were Hank Williams, Bob Hope, and Milton Berle. And so this is a big deal, you know, till the Food and Drug Administration shut them down. Most of those old patent medicines like that had hefty alcohol content and sometimes a little bit of medicinal opiate or cocaine in them. So this is one of those records. In the South, they would often use Pete Fountain, the great New Orleans clarinetist, and he would put together bands to tour the Hadacol circuit. They also, Professor Longhair recorded. He made the Hadacol Bounce. This one came out on a 78 on Mercury, and it's one side in English and one side in Cajun French, and it goes like this. I had a call Had a call. How I love my had a call. Makes you strong, makes you tall. Everybody loves that had a call. Now people always ask me, well, they got that catchy name. Their product made them very rich and it brought them lots of fame. All the reason for their great success I'll now explain to all. They had to call it something, so they called it had a call. Oh, had a call, had a call. How I love my had a call. Makes you strong, makes you tall. Everybody loves that had a call. Now a friend of mine is very bald, has no hair at all. His friends told him if he wants waves to try that had a call. Now, friends, I would not lie to you, for lying is a sin. But now upon his big head, he's got wavy, wavy skin. Oh, had a call, had a call. How I love my had a call. Makes you strong, makes you tall. Everybody loves that had a call. Now, a friend of mine had an awful itch on both of his flat feet. He scratched and scratched them all the time, and to watch him was a treat. He soaked them twice and had a call. That's how the story goes. It cured his itching pronto, but he now has 4 more toes. Had a call, had a call. How I love my had a call. Makes you strong, makes you tall. Everybody loves that had a call. Now had a call's got vitamins, number 1 and number 2. Calcium and phosphorus and iron, good for you. Good alcohol and honey, it's got what it takes to be a sweetheart and lover at the age of 93. Had a call, had a call. How I love my had a call. Makes you strong, makes you tall. Everybody loves that had a call. Ah, yes, had a call. Clarinet player I worked with in the High Water Jug Band, and he bought a bottle of had a call online, unopened apparently, which is crazy because they were shut down in the early 50s. But we were scared to actually open it and drink it. Who else worked for had a call? Professor Longhair, Basin Street 6 featuring Pete Fountain. I forget who did the rest of their recordings. There's a great country record called the Had a Call Boogie, and I can't think of who did it. I'm always looking for them, but the only one I own is the Pete Fountain one. Let's see here. Yeah. I hope I can get through this. This is a lovely old Hawaiian tune. What's called hapahole music in Hawaii, which means it's actually Hawaiian music made for an English-speaking audience. Hapa in Pidgin means half, and haole is a Caucasian person. So hapahole is music made for the Caucasian market. You know, things like My Little Grass Shack in Kealakekua, Hawaii, things like that. Sing this in honor of the great Willie Kay, who passed away a couple days ago. Willie was marvelous singer, guitar player, ukulele player, designed a really nice 5-string custom ukulele that you can get from Honer. And this is for him. I saw you in my dreams. We were walking hand in hand on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. We were playing in the sun. We were having so much fun on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. Sound of the ocean, he's my restless soul. Sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Oh, last night in my dreams, I saw you again on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. We were strolling hand in hand. We were walking on the sand of a white sandy beach of Hawaii. Now the sound of the ocean, he's my restless soul. The sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Sound of the ocean lets my spirit roll. I saw you again. We were walking on the sand of a white sandy beach of Hawaii. All right, aloha, Willie K. Safe home. It's amazing how many people saw Willie because he had a house gig when he wasn't doing something else. He played a fancy lounge at the golf course on Maui there. All right, this is a traditional tune. It's based. Mine is based on Paul Rochelle's version and Jim Jackson's, and it's a lot of kind of floating verses of old blues tunes. But what it really deals with is that in Memphis would be a wide open town for a few years, and Beale Street would be rocking. You know, there'd be women who dated professionally by the hour. There would be bars that were open all night long. There would be places where musicians hung out. And of course, in those days when you couldn't just turn a radio on and find music, background music for your party or your poker game or whatever, at any hour of the day, a lot of live music happened, a lot more live music. And there were places like Pee Wee's Saloon where all the musicians hung out. And if you wanted a band, you just go in there. It's like that. There was a club. There used to be a pub in Red Deer, a beer parlor called Picker's Alley. All the musicians called it Picker's Alley because Central Alberta and everybody from north and south who got stranded looking for a gig. Everybody looking for a gig within an hour of that place would be there on a Saturday, and you could stroll through and find people you need almost any day of the week, actually. And Pee Wee's Saloon was like that. But then Memphis would periodically elect some Baptist reform mayor, and he would try to clean up the town, and he would he'd run all the good time people out, and they would go west to Kansas City on the Missouri side, and wide open town, wide open town. Ragtime players like Scott Joplin, live sex shows. They had 24-hour gambling, good bootleggers, everything you need to have a party. Got up this morning, the baby was gone. All I know, there's something wrong. Well, she moved to Kansas City. Yeah, she moved to Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. She left me this morning, told me today, meet her down on Beale at the Panama Cafe, and then she moved to Kansas City. Oh, she moved to Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. I wish I was a catfish swimming in the sea. I'd have all you fine-looking women swimming after me, and I'd move to Kansas City. Well, I'd move to Kansas City. I'd move to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. Mississippi River, cold, deep and wide. Can't see my baby on the other side. You know she moved to Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. I feel like jumping treetop to the ground. Ever since that woman done put me down and moved to Kansas City. Well, she moved to Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. Now look here, people, hear what I gotta say. Never let an evil lover have their way, or they'll move to Kansas City. Well, they'll move to Kansas City. Move to Kansas City, baby, where they don't allow you. All right, Jim Jackson's Kansas City Blues with a couple of extra verses added in. I doubt he ever did it the same way twice. He used so many traditional verses on it. Let's see who we got here. Checking it out today. My younger brother, Theo. Hey, little brother. Karen Fleury. Hey, Karen, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in again. My pals, Mark and Alexandra Cost. That's great, man. Thank you for tuning in. Mark just built a gorgeous resonator guitar out of copper that I tried out the other day. Taking his cigar box guitar building one step further. And who else we got here? We got let's see, Sal Mattinson. Hey Sal, how are you? Que pasa, man? And Alex Knox, my partner. Alex, how you doing, buddy? Well, let's see. Instrumental time. This I might have played this once before on these happy hours. I've been playing this for years. This is a traditional tune. It comes from the medicine show tradition, which had a call was the end of the great medicine shows. There were cheesy ones after that, like the great Pink Anderson worked for. Pink people don't realize Pink Floyd was named after two old Piedmont style blues guys, one of whom was Pink Anderson. And Pink's main gig when he wasn't playing for the white folk music audience was still working for the one last of the medicine shows. And they brewed their own alcohol and then dumped it into spring water with herbs and sold it for a tonic. And by then they couldn't get away with putting laudanum or coca leaf in it. But the pills they sold were just vitamin pills with the actual logo filed off. And the powders they sold were the same pills, just crushed up. And the salve was just Pink said it was axle grease with like some mint and stuff in it, so it smelled medicinal. But in the heyday, they were the poor little brother of the minstrel show, and they would have people at medicine shows would have entertainers that would draw a crowd and then the pitch man would come and sell you stuff. And the pitch was almost always that it was some secret, forgotten Native American elixir of life remedy. They would claim that it cured everything. Hemorrhoids, the common cold, a bad relationship, warts. And it seemed to work because people felt a lot better about stuff for weeks after, the medicine show went through. And then they get twitchy. Luckily, there were a lot of medicine shows back then. So they wouldn't have to wait too long before another one come over the hill. They were especially popular in the rural South during Prohibition and afterwards when a lot of southern counties decided to, by local option, decided to stay dry after the end of Prohibition. One of the highlights of that was the buck dance. And this is a tune that was one of the accompaniments for that. It's called the Buck Dancer's Choice, and it goes like this. Rock Dancer's Choice. This is a song about Jimmy Reed. Jimmy Reed shaped my musical sensibilities a lot. 60s pop radio was crap until, you'd hear the odd hit pushing toward the summer of love. That was cool. But mostly, if you didn't have an FM radio, where they played underground music, you were stuck with the record labels pushing. So you would hear something cool every now and then, like especially where I grew up, you would hear the first recordings, the first singles of the Byrds and Jefferson Airplane, people like that. You'd also hear Jimmy Reed. Jimmy seemed somehow to be non-threatening to a Caucasian pop audience, His music just seemed so happy. Don't you know that I love you? Honest, I do. And I never would place no one above you. Please tell me you love me. Stop driving me mad. When I woke up this morning, I never felt so bad. Please tell me you love me. Stop driving me wild. You're my little angel. You're my baby child. Don't you know that I love you? Honest, I do. And I never would place no one above you. If by some strange chance you don't know who Jimmy Reed is, you need to go get the greatest hits, start out from there, and then go to the live at Carnegie Hall. Let's see who else we got in here today. We got Victoria Verigen from down in Ziwa, beautiful Zihuatanejo, Mexico. And speaking of Ziwa, my old pal Alan Whitehead, who lives down in the country outside of Seattle, who makes that festival every year, and I always look forward to seeing him. Alan requested this. I put this on an album called When I Was a Cowboy, which is a Leadbelly song, but also describes the 7 or 10 years I spent doing that trade in between playing music. After I cut my first hit single and nothing happened, I decided that I needed to get away and find another trade, a safer trade, a more secure job than playing music. So with that keen logic that's always kept my career at this pinnacle of success, I became a cowboy and a singing horse wrangler. And I hired on for a place in the desert in British Columbia. The other hands all said, hey, you know, they pay your rodeo fees here and you can use the trailer and stuff. They write it off to advertising for the dudes and they take a bunch of them along to the rodeo to watch us compete. And I thought, cool. Which is how I came to be entered up in the calf roping at the first annual Logan Lake, British Columbia stampede and goat roping exhibition. And we're all entered up there, like 4 of us, I guess, from the ranch. And we finished the chores early, and we tossed the good roping horse in a trailer and headed out for the Highland Valley Road to go up from Ashcroft to Logan Lake. We drank the 26 ounces of liquid courage that we had with us before we got out to the pavement on Highland Valley Road. So we turned around and got another from the ranch, which put us seriously behind schedule. So we pulled into the arena in Logan Lake. They were just turned out a guy's calf that I was, or turned out his bronc that I was with, and they were calling my name in the slack for the calf roping. So I parked the truck and I backed this $10,000 roping mare that belonged to the boss out of there, and I barely tightened up the cinches. I put the bridle on her and I headed for the gates. And I came in the arena, and there was, you know, those yard birds you always see sitting on the rail there at every rodeo. And I knew half of them, and one of them on the way by said, Tim, there must be 300 ropers here today, and nobody's made a qualified catch yet. He said, you take the purse and the added money, and somebody's going to make a lot of money. And I looked over at the grandstand where my rich rancher's daughter of a girlfriend sat with an expectant look on her face and thought, I could use me some several hundred, if not thousands of dollars right at this point in my life. So I went to back the horse in the stall and in the roping box. And another friend of mine sitting up there, he said, Tim, look, there's too much slack in your loop. And I looked up. My loop was too small. I took some more slack into it, which now put the bottom of the loop right under the rowel and shank of my right spur. Had I noticed this, I would have just raised my hand a little bit and raised the loop higher, but did I notice? No. So I nodded for the calf, and the calf came out, and the barrier came down, and I was about 6 feet off the calf's butt, and I thought, holy Dinah, I could do this. And then in front of a couple of thousand laughing spectators, I proceeded to catch the rope on my spur and at a dead gallop, rope my own foot. At that point, the calf decided it was a race and beat me down to the other end of the arena where his mother was waiting in a holding pen. While the announcer went, have patience, ladies and gentlemen, he seems to still be building his loop. And later, as I drove the truck with the fancy roping horse back to the ranch, and my soon-to-be ex-girlfriend had gone to the beer parlor with some more successful rodeo contestant, I got to pondering life and love and horses and guitars and such, and I wrote this song, which Baldy eventually covered. did it on a couple of TV shows and stuff. And one day I got a check in the mail, a royalty check, and it occurred to me at that point in time, looking at the amount on the check, that I had made more money off the song than I ever would have made if I'd won the goddamn calf roping at Logan Lake. Yesterday I woke up smiling. Can't remember, but it's been a while and it seems so long. I used to always wake up tired. Life was always weird and wired. That's another song. And I have been a lot of miles, shed some tears and I spread some smiles, from North Alberta down to Mexico. And my heart can't take another rodeo. I got a good guitar and a worn out saddle. Life this far has been a battle just to keep my head. I used to drive downhill with my foot on the throttle, the other in hell, and a hand on the bottle. Lucky I ain't dead. So I spent some time alone and I sorted through the things I've known. I knew I loved but could not tell you so. And my heart can't take another rodeo. Lovers and other changes, funny how time rearranges what we say and do. You can break a heart, be a fool, play a part and play it cool, don't you know it's true? But the feeling stays till late at night, and it's always there in the morning light. Nothing life could do could make me go. My heart can't take another rodeo. My heart can't take another rodeo. Seems to me that was about the time when I switched events and took up team pinning, because all you had to do was know how to work cows and not, it didn't involve, roping in a hurry, so you don't rope your own foot and stuff. Let's see, I'm going to do one by my pal Tom Russell here, and I know he does one of mine now and then, so I'd like to pay back the favor. I first met Tom in Santa Barbara in the 60s, and he was like this intense, brooding guy in black turtlenecks who was studying criminology and rumored to be writing a novel. I had no idea he was such a fine songwriter, becoming one, In the first week I moved to Canada, I got a gig playing with Ramblin' Jack Elliott in Vancouver, and Tom walked up out of the audience and went, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me." I said, "Yeah, I do." So I just moved here, and I play and sing, but I'm not very good, and yada yada yada. And then he got a job playing in the worst dive bars along Hastings Street. He'd play those places where you alternated with strippers and topless lady wrestlers and stuff, and everything just this side of dwarf tossing. And he had a band called the Mule Train. I have a picture here somewhere of the Mule Train standing out in front of one of those old dives. I used to teach and play over in Gastown, a few blocks, at World of Civilization north of there. But Tom matured into truly one of the finest songwriters around. Oh, she drank Canadian whiskey pure blended whiskey. She drank it like wine, and her eyes were the color of Canadian whiskey. Pure blended whiskey, light brown and fine. Oh, the coyotes are howling, the Mounties are prowling. They're looking for a woman who's out there alone. She ran away from her Indian lover. He'll never recover. Oh, she turned him to stone. And she drank Canadian whiskey, pure blended whiskey. Oh, she drank it like wine. And her eyes were the color of Canadian whiskey, pure blended whiskey, so light brown and fine. Now a short time ago, I heard of a woman. She's living alone up on Yellowstone Creek. And old Trapper Dave takes her cases of whiskey, pure blended whiskey, says she never will speak. She drank Canadian whiskey, pure blended whiskey. She drank it like wine, and her eyes were the color of Canadian whiskey, pure blended whiskey, so light brown and fine. Well, let's see. I'm going to play one more tune and call it a day. The tip jar is open. Not mandatory, but it's always appreciated. You can use PayPal, PayPal.me/Tim Williams Blues, capital on the Tim and the Williams and the Blues, just on the TWB. And I want to thank you all for listening. Remember to wash your hands and wear a mask if you go out. Don't care if they look at you weird. I'm looking forward to the next time I have to go into the bank wearing a mask and go check the reaction there. Of course, this is Canada. They don't have guns that we know of. I'm going to close with this. My family were not technically the Dust Bowlers of the Steinbeck era, that he wrote about so well. My father's family left Iowa when they lost the farm before the Dust Bowl kicked in, and moved to Montana and California, and they traded back and forth for quite a while. And my mom's family left Indiana because there was one job which my grandfather and my great uncle could split. I don't know if that's because they were identical twins and they could just take turns showing up, or but anyway, they found one good job, and my grandfather later worked on the docks as a longshoreman, and actually helped organize the Longshoremen's Union on the docks in San Pedro and Long Beach. But when I was a kid, they still had the inspection stations at the border coming in from the east of California, and technically they claimed it was to stop people bringing fruit because they were worried about California's fruit crops being exposed to blight. In reality, they wanted to kick your tires and check your bank account and make sure you weren't a busted okie, It's Woody Guthrie's song about it. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week. Well, lots of folks back east, they say, leaving home most every day, hitting the hard old dusty trail to the California line. Across the desert sands they roll, getting out of the old dust bowl, think they're headed for the sugar bowl. Here's what they find. Oh, the police at the port of entry say, you're number 14,000 for today. And if you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Well, you better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. California's a garden of Eden. It's a paradise to live in or to see. But believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Now if you want to buy a house or a farm that can't do nobody no harm, take your own vacation by the mountains or the sea. Oh, you better not trade your cow for a car. You better stay right where you are. You better take this little tip from me. 'Cause as I look through the want ads every day, oh, the headlines on the papers always say, now if you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, if you ain't got the do-re-mi, then you better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. California's a garden of Eden. It's a paradise to live in or to see. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. I said believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next week, same time, same place. Be well.